the ambassador. That's where it all started. See, each and every one of you in this room, not only must we be out there speaking, we must be writing. Speaking, writing. You have a voice. You need to be heard. But see, if they don't hear from you, then they're going to hear from someone else. You have solved this thing. You are here at Milken Weekend. You have a responsibility. You have an obligation. You have to write. You have to write the story. But then you've also got to tell the story. See, I've been on this mission for the past 20 some odd years, and it's like a path, and it's very narrow. I'm not distracted by what's going on over there. I'm not distracted by what's going on over there, nor back here, because I'm on this narrow path. I call it my mission. I don't have a job. I don't have a career. I don't have a profession. I tell my staff and my students all the time, I'm unemployed. I just wake up and go to my mission every day. And when one is on a mission, we're in LA right now, let me talk about Kobe. See, when one is on a mission, you can't stop a person on a mission. Someone on a job, you can just put your hand up and say, stop, and they will stop. But that person, that individual on the mission, see, that's Kobe since we're in LA. That man won't stop until he breaks all of Michael Jordan's records. He's playing the same way he was playing when he came out of high school because he's on a mission. See, when we're on that same mission, and nothing can stop us because we have defined our role, we are rooted in a purpose, and we have a vision for where we're going to be and where our students are going to be, then it's guaranteed. See, that video you just saw, when I took that school over, our math scores were 3%. That's 6 years ago. You may as well round that to 0. 3% proficient. But I told the staff we'd be at 70% by the end of that year. I told them that because I had already envisioned it. And as you know, when we talk about the concept of vision, once it's locked here, it is done. So many of our children, not only do they not dare to dream and think big, but they don't even know how to envision excellence for themselves. But see, that's where we come in as those ambassadors, because there are other teachers that need to hear from us. There are other leaders that need to hear from us. We've got to be out there and we've got to spread that word. We've got to talk about the excellence in this profession. We've got to talk about the fact that these young people can fly. I said, don't ever tell children that they can't fly. Principal Kafele flies every day. He spreads his wings and he flies 40,000 feet altitude every single day. See, that's about an attitude. There's no way in the world that anything will inhibit me from being successful at whatever I embark on being successful with. But then moving on with this writing. ASCD, they were listening to these presentations I was doing for about 4 years, and they kept insisting, write us a book. Write us a book, Principal Kafele. I said, no, I don't want to write one for you because I'm self-published and I enjoy that. But then they convinced me that I could reach a larger audience. So I went on, I said to them, okay, I'll write one. I want to write one for teachers toward motivating black males. I say that the biggest crisis and challenge that we face as educators in this country is the plight of the black male. There's no greater challenge that we face. Anytime we're talking about a graduation rate of 47% across the country, and then when you disaggregate it and look at cities such as Indianapolis at 19% and Detroit at 20%, and we can go on, then we're talking about a crisis. But a crisis that can be corrected because I'm sure that each and every one of us has already figured it out. So I went on and made the commitment. I locked myself up in a hotel for 10 consecutive days. No wife, no family, no television, no radio, no nothing but the laptop. And wrote for 10 days because I was on a mission to get this message out to the world that here is how we motivate and inspire these boys to want to maximize their potential. I will not lose out to them. I will not lose out to a kid sagging his pants. I will not lose out to a kid who has gravitated to a bandana worth about 75 cents. I will not lose out to a kid who feels that he won't live beyond the age of 21. I am going to win because I am an ambassador for excellence. See, that has to be the mindset. And when that's the mindset, and we look at each and every one of these children, and we lock it in our mind's eye that I am the number one determinant to their success or failure. See, it's that mirror. And I ask these 3 questions of myself every day, every single day. I walk into my office, I look at my mirror, I look into my eyes, but then I go deep right down into my soul and I say, Principal Kafele, who are you? It's just me and him having a conversation. And then Principal Kafele answers out loud. He says, you are Principal Kafele, the principal of North Tech High School. But then he goes on, and it's not me, it's the guy looking back at me. He says, but you're not ordinary at what you do. He said, you are extraordinary at what you do. See, one might be thinking, wow, Kafele has an ego. But see, it's not Kafele has an ego because the conversation is just between myself and the guy looking back at me in the reflection. There's no audience. Imagine us leading a school or teaching a classroom and we see less than extraordinary looking back at us. See, if less than extraordinary is looking back at us, that's what we're going to produce. Because if I looked in that mirror and I saw average, well, I'm okay, I'm average, I'm getting there. Well, then that's what I'm going to produce in the school. Because I've never seen where average can produce extraordinary young people. See, it's not going to happen. So we have to see ourselves as extraordinary, whether it be in the building or whether it be outside in society in our ambassadorship. But then I go to the next question. That sounds good, Kafele, but what are you about? What is your purpose? See, I wish we had time and we can go around the room and we ask the question, what's your purpose? What is your purpose? What is your purpose? Why do you do what you do? See, many of us haven't sat down and defined why we do what we do and therefore who we are. So I answered the question, I'm Principal Kafele, and my purpose is to ensure that every student in the building is striving to achieve excellence. I don't care what's happening at home. I don't care what's happening in the neighborhood. I don't care if you're in the gang. My school is gang infested, as most urban high schools are and middle schools are, and many of the elementary schools that parents don't know about nor their teachers, right? Infested. They join in when they're in elementary school, not because they're infatuated with the gang, but because I have to survive in my hood. So because I have to survive, I have to join. Doesn't mean I like it. I may hate it, but I don't want to get beat up. I don't want to put myself in harm's way, so therefore I join. But then the mindset of us is, I don't care. You're still going to soar because of me, based on my purpose for you. But then here's the real question, the final question. That sounds good, Kafele, but what is your most recent evidence? See, you said you're all that. You said that your purpose is these children. But then what's the evidence to back it up? What'd you do yesterday? See, Janet Jackson said, what have you done for me lately? What's the evidence? What did you do yesterday to confirm how bad you said you are? See? And if we can't answer that question, that means that day was a waste. So we got to make sure that we do it. So then we finished that book and put it out there. Got that message out into society, became an overnight bestseller. I'm proud of that. So see, it's one thing being in the school, and that's what we do, that's what I do. But we've got to be ambassadors for this business. We've got to be ambassadors for education. We've got to be ambassadors for excellence. Again, you all have your story. I don't know why you were selected, but I know you were selected. I thought about this thing day in and day out. I said, this thing is not, it's not confined to Lowell Milken. I said, Lowell Milken was the vehicle. I said, God wants to use me for something, and God wants to use you for something. Because there's so much work to be done, and we're losing so many children, so many stories. Children going home to some of the worst situations. I tell my teachers all the time, you have got to get into their neighborhoods. You have got to get into their homes. You have got to see what we see. See, as I wrap up, I do a lot of trainings with principals across the country. And the two things I harp on, I get the question all the time, what is that one or two things that you can attribute your success to? And I say it's very easy. It's what I do before the first lesson is taught. Number one, when those kids are walking in that building, as you saw, that's my post outside when they're coming into the building. Because, see, as they're walking in, whatever happened last night, whatever happened on the way to school, that's right there. It's right there. But for those of us who are principals, and we're not out there greeting them as they walk into that building, we're going to miss that. But if we're there, we see it, we can shake the hand, we can have the conversation, and we can look into the eyes and see if everything is okay. That's number one. But then number two, when I'm wearing my consulting hat and I'm walking around a school with a principal, I'm waiting to hear his or her message to start the day. Even that's ambassadorship. I'm waiting to hear the message. What's the message in the morning? What's going to be the message to excite those young people for that day? Some of them are coming from some tough situations. How are they going to be inspired to sit in that math class or to sit in that language arts class or that social studies or science class when last night I witnessed my mother being beat down by a boyfriend? Or last night my best friend was murdered? Or last night, whatever. How am I going to focus now on this math class when I've got all this on my mind? But see, that principal understands that, so now that principal is going to come with that powerful message to resonate throughout the building, to get those young people excited and set the foundation, set the tone for the rest of the day, and then once he puts that mic down, he's going to spend the rest of that day with them, getting to know them, getting to know how they learn. See, that's our role, whether we be classroom teachers, whether we be principals, whether we be superintendents. That's our role, to spread this message. Once again, I'm honored to be here today, to have received the invitation the year after. To come here and be a part of this program with you is an honor. But then again, it's confirmation. It's just more confirmation of what I need to do. I hope it's confirmation for what you need to do. And I hope that somehow many of us can stay in touch with one another because, see, we're in this thing together. So we get to know one another, we stay in touch with one another, and perhaps as we saw some of the other examples, we'll see some of you as the superintendents. We'll see some of you as the commissioners of education. We may see somebody in here as the secretary of education as a result of this pen. Because as I sit down, let me tell you something about this pen real quick. I wear this proudly, and I don't just wear it here this weekend. I walk in rooms, and there's no shame to my game. I walk in rooms, and I let them know I am a Milken educator. That changes folks. That changes the way they stand. It changes the way they look at you. It changes the whole conversation when they know you're Milken. You've got to use that. It changes the whole game. I was speaking in Anaheim not too long ago, and I saw the pen in the audience. I stopped my presentation and ran out into the audience and hugged that teacher and said, "Hello, family," because that's what that is. That's family, see, because we share that bond, and I had the pen on when I was giving the presentation. So the pen is powerful. The pen is going to open up a lot of doors, and as it's opening up those doors, let's make sure that we are spreading that message so that we increase the probability exponentially that these young people will truly soar. I thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.